Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Let's take another look here at ICP, see what's going on. Pretty much at break even for the moment here today, but we can see here that above this $12 mark is very beneficial. We got this local or even macro point of control, rather, if you kind of zoom out a little bit, we're kind of in this range between 11.25 and basically 12.10. So there's a lot of control just below us. Half the reason why we saw the price never even pull back to that low $11 mark, which is where I was hoping to get somewhat of an entry consideration there. So okay, now that we're here, we're staying range bound pretty well in this little area. There's a solid chance we're going to see a breakout soon, either up or down. Now, I know that doesn't minimize the probability at all or narrow it down for you, but what it does tell you here is that a breakout is inevitable, especially in this local range here, and a breakout to the upside makes more sense. We just got to make sure Bitcoin doesn't pull back to anything under 100,000, because if that happens, I do think we'll see a bit of a correction here from most altcoins. Okay, so it's just important to be mindful of that. When this little transition right now, we're taking a ton of longs, doesn't make a lot of sense, but you're still more statistically likely to find success going up versus down. So there's that as well. Okay, so again, welcome aboard. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, follow if you haven't already. And obviously, if you've been watching for a while, thank you so much for just being an amazing part of my life. You know who you are. I get showered with really cool compliments and or comments down below, so appreciate that. There's occasional trolls, of course, they're par for the course. They just, they're always going to say, oh, this didn't age well when it's a week later and this analysis is good for 24 hours. So it's just kind of funny how that works out. But regardless of that fact, our success rate's fairly high. If you want to see that, I post that on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. I have playout charts as well if you're not familiar. Those are there too. What we usually like to do is open up with some liquidation data in the back, kind of see what's going on first. Quick congrats to our committee for a nice, almost 60% profit. He round up a little bit over the weekend for SEY. There's about $1.3 billion in unusual buying activity this morning for Bitcoin. So a lot of altcoins are responding well to that or breaking even, looking like they're ready to break out. So we'll talk about that in a minute. First things first, liquidation data on the back end. What are we looking at here? 1175 down to as low as 1150. Heavy concentration of liquidation. This is the last 7 days, all right? So we can see some support there, but we also got to recognize we're getting closer to that. There may be a last candle wick down there to destroy any late long. And then, of course, alternately, just pump the price action up. That's how market makers move. That's just what they do. You just kind of got to get used to it. Same thing here as well. We could very well see 1285 hit as well, but that's further away. So it really just depends on how the price action looks. But the big picture from a macro perspective, more potential for further upside based on liquidation alone. It's not a reason to take a trade, but it's more incentive to understand that, okay? Same thing here as well. It's almost the opposite, where we see a pretty high delta here in liquidation longs. In other words, more people could be liquidated as long versus shorts, basically implying that there's more people buying than selling. Duh, obviously it's easy to identify that. What's important to recognize though is you maintain this level for too long, market makers know that and they start reversing the price action. So we could very well see one last leg down to that $11, 1140 range for ICP, because again, this dynamic has to shift because people keep buying and the price doesn't go up. What happens there? You see a squeeze either up or down, okay? Generally speaking, it'll go down just based on the fact that we're at a key level resistance. We'll go, again, look at that here closer, but for the most part, we got a chunk of support here too, though. So please recognize this. A lot of open interest, 1175, 1190, and again, some late longs at about 1215. So while some of those are underwater, majority of these longs are pretty good shape. So keep that in mind. We may not see sub 1175 at all. Okay. So what's all that mean? How do we decipher that? Speaking is hard. And what's that mean for us? Well, let's take a look at the weekly first, kind of work our way down. I like to do so on Mondays, just get perspective here. There's nothing bearish about this. We're above all moving averages. Last week we closed soundly above the 50, which is great. Volume is tapering off, but that's very standard with a lot of selling pressure that we're seeing here recently. And we can also recognize too that we're overall the key levels here, 50 in the RSI, money flow index high, that's good stuff. So the easy way to understand is the weekly is looking good. So the overall macro perspective here for ICP is that it should go higher. Take a look here at the daily, roughly the same scenario here. MACD, MFI, stochastic, everything is looking fairly positive. While stochastic is topped out for the moment, we may still see that retrace that 1140, 1150 mark. That's becoming less probable the more time we spend in this range, okay? Now, based on moving averages, I can zoom in a little bit for you so you can see this. This is a very good sign here. We're above all SMAs. There is nothing bearish about this. The only thing we need to recognize is if we get a little bit higher up here, we could see some resistance between 13 and 1325. So if you're considering a long, That's not bad. 7-8%, as a 1-to-1 ratio between here and the golden pocket. That's a good sign. Future reference too, folks ask me what the golden pocket is a lot. It's just a common term to use to describe the 0.618, 0.65 fib level. It's just an area of retracement that has a lot of magneticism to it. Price will gravitate towards that and or reject off it frequently for the first time it's retested. Just say hypothetically we'll break through that. It'll be likely a bullish backtest of that support range. Okay, and that's generally how it's construed. 4-hour time frame, what are we looking at here? Well, we can take a look here at the 4-hour time frame. We can recognize still very bullish. We're tentatively losing the 20-day SMA, but that's just because we moved up so fast, so quick. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're just going to break bearish, but it does imply that maybe a long position right now until this resistance range is broken may be a little premature. Same thing as well with 50 on the RSI. We're above it. Fantastic. Money flow index is good, but it is on its way down. So as the price goes sideways and the RSI comes down, the likelihood of price going up is higher. The main reason why is because people are starting to feel like it's a good value. They're starting to FOMO in, and they're starting to realize that, hey, maybe if I don't get in now, I may not ever get in, okay? That's kind of what the consensus is here. Even though MACD is diverging, there's a lot of reasons why this momentum shift should occur to the upside here soon. If we look at the hourly, it's probably going to be a very similar reflection here, which, actually, no, let's talk about this here. Ichimoku Cloud is within the price action. You generally don't want to buy into that, right? I know, it's frustrating to hear this guy, this crypto cash, GC, whatever you want to call me. It's essentially frustrating when you watch this whole video and you realize, wait, he's not going to give me an entry target. He's not going to tell me to take a long or a short. Dude, like 95% of trading is figuring out when not to trade, right? Right now, this confirming factor, even though it's not bullish nor bearish, it's letting us know that we're at this impasse. And until the impasse is succeeded in either direction, we need to make sure that we don't jump in prematurely, okay? Because the conversion line is above the baseline. We got good momentum. The price action is at the lower lead of the cloud, still somewhat of a support, not that greatest, but it is still somewhat. But the lagging span in the price action just kind of tells us it's kind of a mess until that breaks free. There's no reason to take a trade because that's kind of a leading indicator telling us that, hey, we've broken this short-term trend, okay? So for the most part, there's still possible scenarios of the price action pulling back down to this lower level, like I mentioned over the weekend, somewhere in the low to mid $11 range. That's still possible, especially if Bitcoin pulls back down to 100,000. Because look at what Bitcoin did and look at what ICP did. Not a whole lot of movement there. Granted, it tried and pushed. It's still not doing super well. So I would just recognize that and understand that it hasn't really responded strongly to Bitcoin's push. So if Bitcoin pulls back, do you think ICP is really going to just take off from here? Probably not. And again, Bitcoin's tentatively at its golden pocket resistance range. It's got to get some time there in that range to be able to break out, perhaps pull back first. So a few other things in play. So just know that and try not to be an emotional idiot. Again, I say that loosely and very friendly because I don't mean any disrespect, but a lot of people just act on emotion and impulse when you should never do that when trading. Okay? Again, those are things that I can help kind of maybe teach out of you, train out of you. If you continue watching, maybe you join our Trading Academy, Community Signals group, whatever the case is. I look forward to working with you. And to those who are part of my group there, it's awesome to be able to share this experience with you. It's really fun. Last but not least, we do trade with Bitunix, folks, as a community. There's 25 days left for this little benefit/promotion. I don't want you to incentivize yourself to trade more just to hit these targets, because oftentimes you'll spend more to get there. But the whole point is Bitunix has an awesome promotion every single month. So anyone who's used my eligibility or my link below are eligible for anything future or previous. So congrats on that. Last but not least, I'll post a playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord here shortly. Be on the lookout for that, and we'll look forward to seeing the next one. I really appreciate you all. Thanks again. We'll see you next one. Take care.